Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast, the podcast that's as successful as tipping as Jim Delahunt. This week on Heart and Hand, Destroy the Hearts. Welcome to Heart and Hand, the Rangers podcast. My name's David Edgar, and I'm joined this week by two rather fabby guests to discuss Rangers' pretty good performance on Sunday against early pace setters Hearts. Joining me first of all is the marvellous Mr. Alex Staff.
Hi there.
And the wonderful Mr. Cameron Bell.
Good afternoon. Did you say flabby?
I think that
Alex, what's he saying about us? It's a pleasure to speak to you both.
I think that's clearly something you've got in your own mental chamber there, Cameron.
I was going to say, Cammy, would it really be that offside?
Well, I don't know. Okay, well, let's talk about the football and cheer ourselves up other than my expanding waistline.
It can be offside and accurate at the same time. That's the thing. I mean, it can be nasty, but still have a bit of mileage. So Rangers taking on Hearts, top of the table clash. Well, not as top of the table as we'd hope to be, but certainly they were undefeated this season. Hearts had been playing really well. Of course, knocked off the other half of the Old Firm quite comprehensively. In fact, gave them a bit of a chasing in their victory earlier this season, and they were very confident coming into this match. But I've got to say, before going into this, I just was serene in my confidence that we were going to win this. And while the away form will remain a thing, Alex, until we stop it from being so, I never for 1 second felt that Rangers were not going to win this football match going into it.
Yeah, you were quite vocal about that pretty much all week, weren't you? For myself, I think for about the 10 minutes before kick-off, I was a little bit nervous. And it was mainly because of the weather, actually, which I'll kind of touch on later in terms of, I thought that might ruin the game somewhat. It certainly didn't. But just a little bit before kick-off, but it didn't take very long after kick-off for the nerves to settle. Yes,
well, this is why I'm delighted to have Cammy on, because, Cameron, one of the more bizarre goals you'll see at Ibrox this season came about in the opening minute. Ryan Kent went on a mazy run, beating his man, and was halved by the Peter Harry, I think the guy's name is, the Hearts midfielder. And from the resulting free kick, Hearts played their offside trap, which they've done a few times this season. But Ikipezu didn't go with the rest of them and played Alfredo Morelos on. However, the Hearts team en masse stopped. So much so, in fact, the crowd at Ibrox went, well, he must be offside. And everyone looked to the linesman, including Alfie, and the linesman was going, you're onside. And Alfie had time to look at him, look up, listen to the crowd say, you're onside, and then square it for Ryan Kent to tap it in. It was, the old thing of play to the whistle. Hearts, to a man, just thought he must be offside, and they did completely stop. Now, you're obviously our kind of refereeing official or officiating expert, but even so, even though it was onside, it's still a decision that I suppose I'm a wee bit surprised to get, because at that time in the match, it's so easy for the linesman just to stick his flag up.
It is. I don't think Morelos is the problem. I think the problem, and forgive me if I've got the players wrong, but I'm fairly sure, having watched it a number of times, Goldson and Koulibaly are the ones who are actually offside.
Yeah, we had a couple that were, but what they very specifically did, and I'm going to talk to Alex about this in a minute from a tactical point of view, is no attempt at all to play the ball, didn't move to, and in fact made a big show of walking back with their arms up saying, I'm not taking part in this piece of play, which made me think that perhaps it was something Rangers had looked at, but we will come to that. But even so, it was still quite even when you watch it back, you have to really focus on Alfie to see him.
Yeah, no,
listen,
there's
so much
Morelos,
going on.
Yeah, Morelos is not the problem. I don't know if it goes into the kind of whole where Goldson and Koulibaly interfering with play, as he says in inverted commas, because you're right, they walk back. So I suppose it's a little bit of that kind of counterpoint move of, well, if you want to play an offside trap, which clearly we've researched, and we will put players offside, it's a very confident coach that instigates a segment of play like that, where it needs a strong official to ensure that flag doesn't go up. And I think it would have been very easy for that linesman to give that as offside, and then he's got the get out of, well, two players were there, they were offside, I deem that as interfering with play, and pretty much that's the end of the discussion. But we, as you say, Hearts have done that move before. We tried to come up with our own little variation of it. I think the problem you've got with this, though, David, and if I was Levine, I'd be disappointed with this, as I was watching it, sitting wearing my Union Jack shirt out, my Union Jack cup, and just staring at the telly underneath the picture of King Billy, is the reaction of the Hearts players is horrendous. I mean, it's really, really bad. And so I think you'll be really disappointed at the kind of stagnant, statuesque response that they had as soon as it was clear that play was going to continue.
I think that was the thing that put the stadium off, because the fact that they were just completely stock still waiting for a flag, you usually expect one or two of them to think, right, I'll deal with this and then we'll argue about it in a minute. And none of them, the keeper, he makes a kind of half-arsed attempt to go to Alfie and then just thinks, right, I better go. I'm not going to get there, so I better just claim the offside. But look, we criticise officials on here a lot because they give us reason to, and therefore it's only fair to say that was a cracking decision, because as I say, even watching it on TV, you have to specifically focus on Alfie to notice he's not offside. It's not glaring. There's so much going on with, well, it must be about 10 or 12 people running out simultaneously, but one running in. Speaking of which, Alex, now, they've done this before, Hearts. They've done it a few times this season. In fact, against Livingston in the last match, it's a tactic they use. Alfie's significantly deeper than I remember him being at that type of set piece before. Alfie doesn't usually run in from 5 or 6 yards behind Connor Goldson, which he did yesterday. I wonder, and given the fact that Goldson and Koulibaly are very offside and very deliberately offside, but then make no attempt other than running straight back, not looking at the ball, arm up, I wonder if Rangers thought, let's just try this. And then it was helped slightly by Hearts making a howling arse of it themselves anyway.
Yeah, I think it was. It's mentioned in the Rangers TV commentary when I rewatched it. The bench in particular were quite ecstatic about that goal, and not just because it went 1-0 up so early. The impression was that someone somewhere was sitting with a bit of a smug look on their face as they realised they'd caught them out with that. I'm with Cammy, by the way, just to go back a little bit. That would have been so easy just to stick the flag up at that time in the match. I don't think we'd have even questioned it, really, because of the way that everything developed. Would have taken, as you say, a replay, and we might have went, oh, no way, he was Morelos was definitely onside. But
not in the ground.
I don't think we would have questioned it.
Not in the ground. I wouldn't have had a clue. No, there was so much going on. They pushed out. You're expecting the flag to go up when that goes up, and I wonder if sometimes it's almost Pavlovian for a referee that when they see that everyone runs out and there's a couple kind of trailing slightly behind them, that they just gotta fuck it and the arm goes up. Especially, as I say, 2 minutes into the match.
I would also say, sorry Alex, I know I kind of cut across you there, but I would also say, and playing a bit of devil's dick advocate, as we enjoy doing here in Heart and Hand,
we do like playing with dick.
Absolutely, yeah. We have absolutely chastised John Beaton on this podcast, but we will give him credit for the fact that he allowed that play to continue, because even if the linesman didn't give it, he could have from his position. So, as well as the linesman get it right, Beaton get it right as well. So, we are fair, so we want to make sure that he gets the acknowledgement for doing that.
Of course, he should have booked that Hearts player for the original foul and didn't, just because it was in the opening 5 minutes. But anyway,
he's still obviously a terrible referee, but he
yes,
got that one.
He did. He got it right, and yeah, just a great bit of play from Rangers. And like I say, I think it was the combination of Rangers trying something and Hearts doing it badly anyway. I think that did mount up, but I think Rangers did try something, because like I say, Alfie doesn't start as far back as that usually, and it looked to me a very specific tactic. Alex, I hate that tactic. I'm delighted with it yesterday, for the simple fact is you need everything to go right. One tiny error from among everyone really in your side and you're fucked, and that's too big a risk, I think, for I just think it's far too big a risk, because instead of then relying on great delivery and someone getting the jump on your man, what you are relying on, as I say, is that 2 minutes into a match, again, something important, everyone is totally switched on and into their match, and it's just very risky. I'm glad we don't do it.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of the offside trap in general, because you're not only relying upon your own players getting everything right, you're relying upon the linesman getting it right as well. And there was every chance Hearts could have got that correct, but the linesman sees it incorrectly and still allows the goal to go ahead. And without VAR in Scottish football, there's nothing you can do about that. So it's very, very risky. Just to get back very slightly as well to Cammy's point about interfering with play, I kind of get that it's a very vague thing, but because every Hearts player moved away from their goal, you couldn't say that Goldson or Koulibaly was blocking anyone, they all went the other way. So it was kind of comical, wasn't it? It was surreal. I've seen teams do that before. I don't think, have you guys ever seen a team try it against us at Ibrox? I've never seen that before.
God, years ago, it was a more common thing back in the 90s. Teams would do it. The whole Arsenal thing was still quite influential. Yeah. But yesterday's didn't remind me so much of Arsenal as the full Monty version of Arsenal. That's what Hearts looked like when they came out doing that.
You used to see it more when offside was more definitive, so you didn't have first phase, second phase, interfering with play, all that bullshit. When it was more definitive,
when Goldson being offside, Goldson being offside would have made the goal offside regardless. Then yes, you would have saw it more often, but. No, I've not seen it in years, and like I say, well executed game plan by Rangers, piss poorly executed by Hearts and 1-0. And it was important, I think, because we left the stadium on such a high on Thursday night, absolutely buzzing, and the quick start just continued that. Ryan Kent on those opening few minutes was, for the whole game, but certainly in those opening few minutes was terrific. I love the way that he can get the ball with his back to goal, and you don't know which side he's going, which is annoying for a defender because he's quite two-footed. He's very quick on the turn, so if you push up to him, he's going to spin away from you, and if you give him space, he's so quick on the turn, he's going to turn and go past you. And it's been a long time, Cammy, since we've had a player who could do that.
No, he's I know we kind of mentioned when you guys were talking about it in the post-match analysis was talking about he's got his back to goal, and that 180 degree complete turn is lightning fast. It's a nightmare to play against because you don't know which way he's going to turn you, and in one in particular, he gets the ball virtually on the touchline, and the defender comes inside to show him, or he tries to show him the kind of wide angle because he knows that he's got no room in his right hand side. But he just skins it and he must have at least a foot of width to be able to try and operate in, and he still manages to come away with the ball and leaves the guy for absolute dead, He's just so confident to be able to try and take that on. And as we've seen, even with the goals that he scored, and obviously, if you remember the 1-2 at Arfield where he got his goal in the last game, he was so quick to be able to get that ball out from under his feet. It's another great asset that he has. So yeah, very, very exciting player. And the good thing about it is, as you saw with the goal, let's be honest, right? Kent's goal was a bit of a tap in for him, right? So Morelos just laid it on a plate for him, and that's it. But the way he celebrated is brilliant because you can see how much it means to him personally and how much he gets into the fans and all that stuff. So I think he's absolutely loving his time up here, and I know he's made a couple of statements to that effect, a little bit kind of soundbite-ish. But I'm very, very excited, and if we could get this guy permanently, I think that would be a major coup for us.
I think it would, but if he keeps going like this, you know what English players go for. And yeah, there'll be some championship club will pay stupid money for him. It might not be stupid money for him, actually, Alex, because, look, not to put too much pressure on the guy, but he's the most skillful player we've had. I'm having to go back to maybe Kenija McCann.
I was wondering maybe only Aluko would have came close.
Aluko, sorry, sure. yes, well remembered.
Potentially Aluko.
That's the only one, yeah. Aluko in the last 15 years has been the only player who could do what Kent can do.
Yeah, and in fact, in some ways, he's very like him, because one of the problems a lot of wide players have at Ibrox, and more so at Ibrox, but at Rangers in general, is that when teams sit in, they receive the ball and they're standing, it's a standing start
back to goal.
To get the ball in.
Yeah, back to goal.
Or they're back to goal, or whatever it may be. And then, the fans are getting their back for not skinning players, etc. But, it's not easy to do from a standing start, or you're back to goal, or whatever it may be. You've seen players like, not even just wingers actually, take someone like a Thomas Buffel, for example. Anytime teams sat really deep and forced him to play facing his own goal, he looked very ineffective. The minute he could get on the break and run at someone, he was hard to fucking stop. So Kent's perfect, because he seems to be able to, even from that standing start, go from nothing to his absolute top speed within 2 steps, which is very Caniggia-like. He was very good at that. And he's also got unbelievable close control. I don't really know sometimes how he manages to keep the ball under the pressure that he's under. He's actually perfect for us in that respect. He's going to have games where he's not as good as he's been recently, of course he is. That's the nature of football. But I really hope we stick with him as fans, and I hope that we play him as often as possible, because he's extremely important for us at the moment in our attacking play. I wouldn't want to change the formation or too much else, that would mess up his role in the team, because it's clear that we're playing a lot through him at the moment.
The front three yesterday, as they were the other night as well, were superb, and I think they just worked so well together, which was proven with, after Alfie for Ryan Kent, it's then Alfie and the other winger that combined for goal number 2. And this goal was so good and so fast, I didn't realise how good it was until I got home and saw it on the replay. And I was in the Copeland yesterday, so this is how quickly this happened. Hearts trying to clear it. Their young fullback Mitchell gets caught dawdling in his own box. That's fatal when you've got the Energizer buzzing. Daniel Candeias ready to come in, steals the ball perfectly cleanly, by the way, a really superb tackle. Gets the wrong side of the defender and puts the cross right into the corridor of uncertainty. And from where I'm standing, Alfie going in at some pace, because he's fizzed the ball across. He's absolutely fizzed the ball across, Cammy. And I thought Alfie got in there and got a touch on it. A clever finish to knock it up into the top corner away from the keeper, using the pace that was on the ball. When I've seen it back, he has gone and with his back foot has somehow let the ball come past his front foot and then used his back heel to knock it into the top corner. A stunning piece of acrobatic, confident, instinctive finishing. It's one of the best goals you'll see all season.
It's a cracker. Again, as we kind of mentioned in the after talking about the Vienna goal, it's that cross that comes in. Now this time obviously it was Candeias rather than Tavernier, but it's a cross that goes in front of the defender, and Morelos last time opened his body up and then just slotted in with his side foot. This time he hits it with his back heel. Now, I'm not decrying the goal because it was excellent. It was very, very quick thinking. But when you do that with your back heel, as guys who play football pretty regularly will know, you don't have a huge element of control as to where it goes. But that works because neither does the keeper. The keeper can't guess it. It actually reminded me slightly of it. You guys will remember this, the Purcell goal against Aberdeen up at Pittodrie.
Yeah.
Remember when he flicked it just inside the back post? But that's the benefit of using a technique like that, is in some instances you've got a rough idea of where it may go, and you take the gamble, and most of the time it'll work out. But the great thing about that goal is it's a superb finish. It's great ingenuity and fast thinking, because you could almost forgive him for being half a step off the pace, because he doesn't, I don't think anyone expected Candeias to rob the fullback of the ball.
And he's moving, yeah, you're right. As soon as he sensed that Candeias might be able to do it, if you watch, he's moving into the space. And
listen, you use Cordon Certi, I will use another cliche of it as well. That's a striker who's scoring goals, has that level of confidence and movement. And it's great to be able to see it, because he's varying up what he wants to be able to do. So if I was a fullback in Scotland and I was playing against this guy next week, I would know as to how to be able to try and defend against him, because he's now adding all these different attributes to his game. But it was a superb finish. I mean, it's pretty spectacular. But for me, the real quality within that is the positioning, the ingenuity, and again, as I say, just the fast thinking, just rapid, and don't let them, don't let a great opportunity like that pass you by.
Alex, I don't even think it's quick thinking, because I think it transcends that. Trust me, I mean, if you saw this in real time, folks, you'll know how fast this happened. Great sportsmen do things without necessarily being able to explain you through the thought process of how they did it. Gascoigne was the wonderful example of it. Ryan Kent's probably like that as well. There's no way he has time to see the ball coming and go, what I'm going to do, right, is I'm going to put my front foot forward and let it come through it, and then, it's sheer instinct.
It was, yeah. And he seems to be... People are going to get back to his miss for Colombia, which wasn't that long ago. But since then, he seems to be finishing a lot better with these sort of things. Last season, when he missed that sitter against Celtic at Ibrox, he seemed to then want to take a touch all the time before he would hit a ball in the subsequent games for a while after that. Even if he was 6 yards out and all he did was prodded in the back of the net, he seemed to want to take a touch all the time. We're now seeing him just finishing, and this, as Cammy points out, is his confidence in himself at the moment. To even try that at that pace is just it's rather audacious, and that's probably a nice way of putting it. It's potentially nuts, actually, in many ways, but it came off for him. Because of where I was sitting, I'm in the enclosure, I was able to tell that it was a flick, but I didn't know until I seen the replay just how well he connected with it. I wasn't sure just how much that actually, looked like one where he just kind of flicked it in. And then when I seen the replay, I thought, that's actually a cracking finish. Really good finish. The keeper had no chance for that, regardless. So, yeah, lovely goal. Lovely to see him trying these things, I think, is the biggest thing. To see his confidence in himself at the moment is probably, just as important as the actual goal itself.
There's an element to that as well, though, where... And Alex is 100% right, where it's not just about the confidence he has in himself, but if you look at all of our last 6 goals, the ones that Morelos has been involved in, he has been able to finish like that against Hearts. He's been able to lay it on a plate for Kent against Hearts when he literally only has a keeper to beat. But against Vienna, in the third goal that we scored, he has got the option to square it out to Halliday, but takes the goal on himself and scores from it. All of those types of play are very different, but they're also very selfish and very unselfish. Now, the reason why that's a call out for me is because, again, you don't know what he's going to be able to do next. And sometimes when he went through a really kind of bit of a barren spell, he didn't know how to make those decisions. He didn't know, and he inevitably ended up making the wrong decision. Prior to going into that, even when he wasn't scoring himself, he was still instrumental in the creation of those chances, so he was still, causing assists. What's great about what you're seeing about Alfredo Morelos just now is he's doing all of these things game to game. So you really don't know what he can do next, and the fact that he's got the confidence to either take it on himself or lay it off for someone just shows how much he is enjoying being in that team and how well he's been coached as well.
The last 2 matches he has been unbelievably good. The front three have also, or all of them rather, have been superb. But special word of praise to him, because I just think he's twice now run 2 decent defences absolutely ragged. And Ibrox is going barmy at this point. It was so good. There's something really special about when you're at a horrible dreich day that you wake up and you look at the window and go, oh, for fuck's sake. But then you're in the stadium and you wouldn't be anywhere else in the world, and it went to 3-0, bedlam round Ibrox. And I was with Big Colin from the pod, and it was a good job because I actually Dirty Dancing style ran and jumped into his arms. And he's a big bloke, and thankfully I'm quite a skinny one these days, because otherwise I'd have been right through that wee fucking door at the side of the Copeland rear. And that would have been quite painful. But another break from Rangers, and our attacking play, Alex, something to maybe come to in a wee minute, was so good and has been the last couple of matches. And to Tav swings over a cross, it's a bit high. Alfie, though, makes something of it, gets a header down. Keeper should do better. He palms it straight out, never a good idea. Scott Arfield rushes in, puts it away. 3-0, Ibrox nuts. The Hearts support are just sitting shell shocked. They just don't know what's happened to them. They haven't conceded 3 goals all season, and well, they had 3 all season, and now they've lost it in half an hour. And it was one of those special moments at Ibrox.
It was, yeah. It must be a while since we've been doing the bouncy inside 33 minutes, right? I mean, I can't remember that any time recently. One thing to point out from that goal, that came from the move where Koulibaly nutmegged Naismith with his pass. And, you know, everybody's gone away, and then all of a sudden, again.
That's kind of like my new girlfriend and my old girlfriend. That one, isn't it?
Yeah, it really is actually. Yeah, but we were, by that point of the game, we were breaking excellently. I've got to say, because it's not been mentioned so far, Hearts at this point, and we've missed out one of the most important elements of the match. At 1-0.
No, we are going to come to that. He's getting a section on his own.
Okay.
Don't worry, he'll get praise.
Yeah. But you know, we've had to. Hearts haven't played that poorly.
No, it's been a really good game.
Yeah, probably. In fact, I'm watching it thinking this is the best first half I've seen in Scottish football, and probably this season certainly, and in quite a bit of time. Just the quality of both teams for me was quite high. And what we were able to do was force Hearts into making more mistakes than us. They started to go a bit longer. They started to play a bit more direct because, you know, they were 1-0 down after 2 minutes, and then all of a sudden it's 2-3, half an hour in, and they're chasing it. But yeah, as you say, Ibrox went nuts. Morelos' header down, it wasn't really going anywhere. It was a surprising decision by the goalkeeper to palm it out to the middle of his box like that. I think if he'd left it, one of the defenders was all over it, but you know, we'll take that sort of goal every time, won't we?
As I say, instinct again. They're panicked now. It's the reverse of Alfie. He's confident, he's flying, he's trying stuff, it's coming off. They're the opposite. They're going, what the fuck has happened to us here? How are we 3-0 down? Or 2-0 down?
The keeper's also been absolutely mullered twice by this point. The offside one where he just doesn't know what he's doing, and then Morelos' back heel just is absolutely shot him to death. And then by this point, I think psychologically he forces that error himself because of what he's had to endure by that point.
Yeah, I wouldn't disagree with that. And Rangers, as I say, sound very comfortable, but there were 2 key minutes just after Rangers scored. Now, look, one thing that has been missed is Rangers also had another good chance in this period with John Flanagan, but Hearts created 2 excellent chances. First of all, with he who shall not be named, Judas Rat, forcing a brilliant save from Al McGregor, and then a really stunning stop. I thought a genuinely highlight reel stop when, again, Hearts Ekipizu, who's, you know, a unit, but he can move. He turns Joe Worrell out in the wing, hails in on goal. Could have squared it for McLean for a tap in, but takes on the shot. And to be fair to him, it's not a bad shot. He catches it really well. It's heading in. McGregor somehow not only gets to it, but gets a strong enough hand to tip it away. I thought a genuine worldie, and having seen it back, it hasn't changed my mind. Alex, that's the difference between having a good goalkeeper who makes good saves and having a great one who makes match-defining saves.
Yeah, that's the word, match-defining. If you take away our goal, and I know that's stupid to say, but if you take away our goal in the first couple of minutes, Hearts would have been happy with the way they started the game. They got the ball down a little bit and they created those chances that you mentioned. They would have been quite happy. And if it was still 0-0 at that point, Ibrox is a very different atmosphere. Because we would have been worried about the way the game was going. So the match defining, as you say, if Hearts had equalised, then God knows what way the game's going. We really don't know. And McGregor's pulled off 2 absolutely cracking saves, and it was the second one in particular. He's got no real right saving that, and it is one of those moments where he's just like, no, I'm not getting beat here. It's just not happening. And it wouldn't have mattered what the striker done; he wasn't going to get beat there. So really good goalkeeping from him, and inspirational from him as well, because the crowd really got up. Like, it wasn't normally when teams create chances like that against us, there's a little bit of a grumble in the crowd, but because of the mood that we were in and carrying on from Thursday and the early goal, we were actually really cheering that sort of thing. It was almost as if we'd scored ourselves, with that sort of reaction from the crowd. That was, and that in itself feeds in and helps the players along. So yeah, as you say, match defining is the way to put them, because he was just showing all of his experience and ability there.
Cammy, you'll remember in the summer that I said it was great we were bringing him back, and you said it wasn't, and I was right, and you should admit that.
Yeah, I also remember how you said that Stephen Naismith was the best thing that's ever happened. So if people want to go back to listen to some of the early pods, then we can certainly discuss that. I think so. To come on to that point, and this is quite serious for a minute. I do like the fact that we are acknowledging that we're not saying that McGregor is better than Foderingham because McGregor is good and Foderingham is bad. Actually, it is between good and great.
Yeah.
The difficulty you've got, right, if you're a player who's looking to be able to try and break your way into a team, is that if someone's playing ahead of you, to a certain extent, he has to justify that, and you have to be able to say that. Wes Foderingham could watch that save on Sunday and go, I could not have made that save.
True.
And that's not a bad thing, but what it's showing to him is that if he wants to get into this team, that's a standard he has to raise himself up to. So McGregor is fully justified in his place at the moment. Absolutely no one would question that, but that should serve as an inspiration to Foderingham to say, you could look at that outcome and look at that result and say it was 3-1, but exactly as Alex says, we concede a goal at that stage, potentially it changes the performance, the flow of the game, but it is match defining. It absolutely is. There's no better term for it, because Foderingham can watch that and go, if I had conceded that, then this would not have turned out the same. We wouldn't have been anywhere near as comfortable. That's what we brought him in for. I do feel, and I still stand by this, because of the absolute bobbins that Foderingham had in front of him, that he was exposed last season, and that's a different conversation. But because of how much we've tightened it up, plus the icing on top of the cake, which is Alan McGregor, he can make saves like that, which does get us 3 points. I'm sorry, but see, at the end of the day, we could have potentially thrown that away if we lost our nerve and we had lost that tempo. He absolutely keeps it going for us, and exactly as Alex says again, actually gives it a little bit of a boost, because it gets everyone off their feet.
Fires the crowd up, no, totally, and it did.
It gets everyone onto their feet.
It kept the mood going. Into the second half, I expected Hearts to come flying out against us. Levine sent them on 2 or 3 minutes before us, which is usually the sign that they've had their boys booted, and can't have been that much fun actually to be out on the pitch 3 minutes early, given the conditions, but didn't happen. And in fact, after 5 minutes, a nice move sees a body check on John Flanagan down the Hearts end, blatant second yellow, Hearts down to 10 men, nobody complaining at all about it. And Rangers then had about a 10-minute spell of beautiful play. I mean, there were lovely one-touch pass and tricks and flicks, which sort of ended when Hearts got a set piece and scored. I felt a pretty bad goal for us to give away. Stevie, stop making substitutions at set pieces. Just don't do it. Throws, mate, throws. And after that, I think that Thursday night yesterday caught up with us. And while I never felt we were in any trouble, we were flat. And I think everyone, the manager included, acknowledged that Hearts, who had nothing to lose, obviously, they were probably slightly the better team. But I don't think that Levine's comments of, well, you look at how well we played in the second half, you're 3-0 down, it's a false situation. You can't claim that. It doesn't work. Clearly, Team A has relaxed against Team B there. I understand why he does it. He's got to try and pick his side up and take a positive, but it's not a true comparison. I was a little surprised by some people being very disappointed and saying, the last half hour unacceptable and all this stuff. It's like, yeah, okay, but we played really well for an hour. We didn't lose. Context. Had we said on Sunday before, which was a nightmare, and it doesn't, the manager himself said it doesn't wash away Livingston, that was still such a bad performance that it's a scar on the season. I don't think anyone would disagree. But we needed a response, and in the 2 matches since, we got it. And I think that I do get, look, we should always be looking to improve, and I'm sure the manager will look at it, but there does come a point where it's criticism for the sake of criticism. And I think if you were leaving there yesterday anything other than delighted, you're being a wee bit harsh.
I would agree. And I would also point out that Cammy, who I'm sure will confirm this, we were saying during the first half, the tempo of this game is absolutely nuts. We're going to need to use our subs well around about the 60-minute mark, because we're going to be struggling. With Thursday in mind, luckily we'd killed the game by then. The red card added to that, and as you say, we're still playing some nice stuff, but we should have expected a bit of a flat 20 minutes from the team, really, given everything that was going on. So Hearts' goal changed things. I think Gerrard said himself he was looking for a fourth goal before he started making early subs. An absolute killing of the game. Hearts scored to make it 3-1, and he changed his mind on what he was going to do there.
See, I do find that a wee bit odd. That is a talking point that I thought the other night. Now it's worked, but I thought subs were a bit late and happening the other night, and it did work. So I'm not criticising them, but why did we need to be 4 up, 3 up against 10 men? That not enough?
I guess he's just a little bit conservative that way, or I mean, it was 65 minutes when Hearts scored. And Ryan Jack's coming on, who of the subs was probably the least match ready. So maybe that was going to be the start of his subs. And as I say, that goals went in straight away, and he's kind of changed his mind on a couple of them. I mean, ultimately, as you say, it's worked, so this can be a bit of over-analysis. I just felt as though, personally, after at half-time, after seeing, and it was an absolutely real high-tempo match. One of those games that you'll talk about, people talk about and say it's a shame that the TV deal works as it does, because that should have been showcased.
Should have been a live game, 100%.
Should have been a live game. Both teams, despite it being 3-0 at Rangers, both teams could come out of that first half thinking we done pretty well there. And Hearts just made a mess of a few situations and were blown away by some good play. The fact, that after that first half, I think we should have expected a bit of a flat second half, given everything. So yeah, it's a little bit harsh to come away, very disappointed or complaining about standards dropping or anything like that. Having rewatched it, it wasn't as bad as I felt during the game. We still created a few chances, we still dominated the ball. We only gave Hearts one other chance after their goal. They had one shot on goal after that, from June, from some loose play at the back. But ultimately, we were still pretty comfortable. It just didn't. I think we were just a bit overexcited. 3-0 playing as well as we were against 10 men. People were looking for a cricket score, and maybe we were just being a little bit unrealistic given the exertions of the team on the Thursday night as well. Same players on the pitch. We should have probably expected that little bit of a dip.
So sorry, Cammy, a really good win, and we move on now to the international week. Players can rest up. Back in a couple of weeks with Hamilton away. Now the away thing, Cammy, is a thing because it will remain that way until we win an away match. And with all due respect to Hamilton, I know that usually precurses an insult, and it's not an insult, but we have to be honest and say that if you were picking an away match that you would feel that you should go and smash someone at. I mean, I'm not expecting Rangers to win this. I'm expecting Rangers to go there and hammer them. And the team cannot have asked for a better away day to put this record to bed.
Possibly. I'm not... To be honest, maybe my incessant pessimism puts me in this position. I'm not expecting to go out and hammer somebody, because I don't believe this team has shown me performances like that away from home in the league that justify that level of confidence. But then, adversely, if I was to look at home performances, I would say, well, why the hell not? We could probably beat them by 10 or 15. There is a point that we need to go out, and if we could play with the kind of tempo that we had in the first 45 minutes against Hearts, we will overrun teams. But I want to send out a signal to show that away fixture hoodoo is behind us now, and that we are growing and developing as a team. And Gerrard is growing and developing as a coach in that perspective. I don't know, if I'm being perfectly honest, if there are fixtures that we would cherry pick in order to be able to make that happen, because I also think that we have seen from this team sometimes we can be very, very motivated against specific opposition. I think that tempo versus Hearts showed that we approached that game with the respect that it was due, and as we've just discussed, Hearts tried to meet that in kind, without necessarily converting their chances. So it doesn't matter though. It should be how the team set up to go out and win this, and win it very, very comfortably, because I'm not necessarily bothered about making substitutions when we're 3-0 up, when we're playing on a grass surface, but when we're playing on absolute shit pitches, and it leaves us more prone to potentially getting injuries. If we are in a very comfortable position, I would absolutely advocate making sensible substitutions in order to stave off any potential problems that might arise.
Well, we're heading into the international break, so a couple of weeks off from real football, which is always a touch depressing, but it's time for us to look round the world of football and in fact see who has said something or done something that is so utterly, catastrophically stupid that it could have come from the mind of one John Hartson Esquire. Yes, who has made a total Hartson of it this week? Alex, we will start with you, my good sir.
Yes, and we don't need to go very far for this one. This one is by, you've got those moments, those famous moments with commentators when they make a bit of an arse of something, they don't realise what they're saying, yeah? We've had loads. I believe there was the one with Nick Faldo and his caddy Fanny. Yeah,
my favourite one for this is a cricket one actually, where he famously said the batsman's holding the bowler's willy, and it was true. It was Michael Holding and Peter Willie, but think of it.
Yeah, that sort of thing. Yeah. Well, for the Championship in England this year, obviously we've got Bill Leslie commentating, Don Goodman co-commentating. And in the game Leeds versus Brentford at the weekend, a Leeds player went off the pitch because his contact lens had fell out. Now, when you hear contact lens fell out British football, what's your first thought?
Jim Leighton 85.
Jim Leighton 85. Jim Leighton 85 is what they started talking about. And they mentioned that no one knew Jim Leighton wore contact lenses. And now, I've not got this quote down pat. I've been trying to find something and I can't find it, so my apologies. I remember hearing something like this at the time and thinking, oh fucking dear, and I cannot believe it went by with no comment. At one point, the commentator Bill Leslie said, Jockstein in particular had a very shocked reaction.
Oh, for fuck's sake. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, he did.
I cannot believe no one picked up on this. I thought that would be all over social media. There was something along those lines of Jockstein in particular had a very shocked reaction. And I thought, Bill, you're not quite...
No.
quite remembering what day that was, are you?
Put that in context, mate. Put that one in context. Yes, I would agree with that. That's a tough one. I'm going to go for one, actually, that's on a similar theme. Well, it came from commentary, but not a commentary mistake, per se. I, as you know, like Serie A and La Liga, but especially Serie A. So, in the summer, the rights were sold to a mob called 11 Sports. I use the term mob advisedly. Didn't know much about them. Online, they have an app, and you can get it from their website. Now, most companies that don't have a channel will at least have an app for things like Amazon Fire TV or Apple TV or whatever. They don't. So you have to watch it through a browser or old-fashioned HDMI into the telly. And you're thinking, okay, right, fair enough. Wonder what the coverage will be like. Their coverage is a fucking joke. You basically get the stream of the match, fair enough, but their commentary hit new lows last night. Well, it hit lows a few weeks ago when it was 20 seconds ahead of the match.
Oh, man.
So you would hear him going and say, and he's played it through and it's a goal, and you're like, no, it isn't, the guy's fucking, and then literally 20 seconds later it would happen. And they didn't fix it for like an hour, not even at half time. So last night, sitting down to watch the Italian game, we do a Serie A show on Patreon, and I'm sitting down to watch it, and the commentator was booming, but you couldn't hear any crowd noise. And it reminded me of when a betting company puts a commentator on a match on their site, which they don't normally do, and of course they're not picking up the official feed, so you get that sound differentiation. There was no summariser, they hadn't bothered their arse with one of them, so you just did this guy chatting away. And their half-time coverage and pre-match coverage is precisely none. And at half-time, what they basically do is they'll show you pictures of the ground and the stadium, and that's it. And the guy doesn't even talk over this, or you don't get any highlights or anything. And you're charging for this shite. Why bid for the rights if you don't have the infrastructure in place to do it? Or why spend so much on the rights that you then can't afford to put together a fucking product that's worth watching? And given that they are online only, people are going to stop paying and go, fuck it, I'm just going to, it's a shite product, so a shite link isn't going to bother me. And this is where I think leagues themselves need to take a bit of responsibility, because this is where brand management and marketing comes into play. Serie A and La Liga are huge leagues, and in the UK they look fucking tin pot. If you watch these things, you will think that they are absolute tin pot leagues. And if you're trying to sell your rights internationally, which is now a big thing, don't just take the highest bid. Look at what they can do. Basics. I mean, I would have thought basics for the likes of that. Do they have a TV channel? No. Well, fuck them then. They're not getting the rights to our games. But instead, they can put them online. Okay, who's watching this? What's your commentary like? What's your presentation? How are you going to promote this? And there's none of that. It's just, as I say, it's like watching on a bookies app. And I think it reflects really poorly on the two leagues at a time when they want to increase their footprint and stay within the EPL slipstream. There's no fucking way the EPL would sell their rights tomorrow to you, me and Cammy if we said, we'll give you more money. How many customers you got? We'll worry about that. How are you going to cover it? Don't you worry about that, right? Alex has got an iPhone. We're fucking set. It's bullshit, and I think it just shows you if you take the short-term thing of money, it will bite you in the arse in 2-3 years down the line.
I actually think it's worth blaming Cammy here, by the way, because it's his exorbitant wages with Sky that meant that they couldn't afford to get the rights this time round.
Yeah, Cammy, what's all that about? What the fuck are you showing now?
Yeah, but we've got Jamie Carragher and Jamie Redknapp, so we've got the eye candy. So yeah, if you're not willing to pony up, then look, let's just see what happens to you. And now you understand who the quality is. So,
I do fucking pony up for Sky. Go and get Serie A back.
Listen, mate, I've just sold the company. I don't need to start negotiating deals for the football. Do you know what I mean? So just calm down.
Speak to your people. Have your people contact mine. We'll work something out.
Okay.
Cameron.
So I don't have a commentary one because I thought this one was actually a bit better, a bit kind of closer to home. But I've got two names for you. One is Jim Delahunt.
Always a good candidate.
Not rhyming slang for anyone thinks about.
Well, he is. He really is.
Yeah, no, but he is. But that's not the context in which I'm using it. And also Ewan Cameron. So for people on social media will know that both of these guys got a little bit of a kind of pasting in the last few days, because Jim Delahunt put up in his football tips that he felt that we were going to really struggle against Hearts because of a bit of a lacklustre display against Rapid Vienna. Yes. Obviously, Jim, let's just say Jim's been involving himself with other things if he genuinely thinks that game against Rapid Vienna was lacklustre and didn't have an outstanding performance, which it was.
He was maybe tired and emotional when he wrote that, right? I think that's the phrase. You know how I spent like 20 years tired and emotional? Yeah.
Yeah, correct, yeah. Yeah, he was very tired and very emotional at that point, maybe paid for it the next morning. Anywho, and Ewan Cameron. Now, Ewan Cameron is tough to not like, I suppose is the easiest way for me to be able to say this, because he nails his colours to the mast, and he put up a whole load of tweets yesterday before the game, saying that he was driving to Ibrox and stopped to ask for directions. And then when people gave him the directions, he went, no, I need directions to the top of the league. Ha, 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 and all that. The game comes and goes. And he actually came on Twitter, and fair play to him, came on and said, I've made a rip road in arse of this. Blah, blah. And he actually did say, now I'm feeling like a fud. And you're kind of, do you know what, fair play to you. And do you know what, you can eat a bit of humble pie, and, your banter's not brilliant, but, at least you make an attempt. Jim has decided to delete all of his social media accounts. I actually thought, this is just fabulous, because you've got two opposite sides of the coins here. Now, these guys are Scottish sports professionals, commentating in their field, and they both use the kind of fan interaction way in, totally different side things. But I did think that Ewan Cameron just turns up and he goes, look, you're absolutely right, Rangers deserved it, Hearts were poor, I'm a bit of an arse, when will I learn? Raffle, and then kind of off he pops. And I think most guys, like including Rangers fans, went on and went, well,
fair enough, aye.
Yeah. Jim, delete my social media account. I apologise to my 32,000 followers.
Don't forget, Jim Delahunt was the man who threatened to get or tell his dead mammy about us all, remember?
Yeah.
They were calling him Delacunt and stuff. And
that was it. Somebody called him Delacunt, and he said he wished his dead mum was still alive so that she would come and sort them out. Again, I'm thinking tired and emotional. Yeah. Yeah. Look, he's sailing away with this one, isn't he?
Yeah.
I don't think that anyone can put up any argument. He has made a total heartson of that, and there was a reason that when I was drinking that I didn't go on social media, and it's a lesson that perhaps he should learn. All right, folks, thank you very much for joining us this week. Now we will obviously be away for the international break because there's no game to cover next Monday, so there won't be a flagship Heart and Hand. If you want to come and see us and you're near Ayrshire, then we are playing at Kilwinning on Saturday. If you just put into Google, if you just add in Heart and Hand Kilwinning, up will pop a link for you to buy tickets. And they're only £10 each. Come along and see the boys. If you do want, though, lots and lots of coverage while we are going through this horrible international break, then go to patreon.com/Heart and Hand. It's just $1.99 per month. $1.99. And you get up to 5 shows every single day. You will not need to listen to anything else, I promise you. And, of course, if you want your hands on some of the must-have tat of this season, go to heartandhand.co.uk. So thanks to our executive producers in London, Mr. Mike Lee and Mr. Paul Myers, and to my guests, the wonderful Mr. Cameron and James Bell.
Thank you, boys. A pleasure as always.
The splendid Mr. Alex Staff.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Let's get through this next 2 weeks, folks. It's not going to be fun, but we'll talk to you again soon. Cheers. Bye.